Let's get to Turkey now, because the central bank has slashed its benchmark interest rate by 150 basis points. The decision surprised economists yet again. They predicted a smaller cut. Let's get on to Simone Foxman from Doha. So Simone, is there any end in sight to this rate cutting cycle?
Well, we may be nearing the end, but we're certainly not done yet. That's the economist expectation, because the central bank signaling we could get yet another rate cut next month. And if you turn into our GTV Go, as you mentioned, Youssef, you'll see that economists expected a rate cut here, but it was bigger than anticipated. Third surprise in as many months. And then you see at the bottom, this pushes real rates in even farther, already intensely in negative territory. President Erdogan has pledged single-digit interest rate benchmark by the end of the year, and the central bank really seems to be keeping up with that pledge, even though they offer a little bit different rationale. They say they're transitory price pressures that are going to go away soon because of actions that the government has taken to try and mitigate some of the rising inflation. Also because they see a resolution of regional conflict. I'm not really sure where they're getting that exactly. This very much looks like a political play by President Erdogan to juice the economy ahead of elections next year. But it does have a lot of risks for both the economy and the country's fiscal stability.
And let's stick with Turkey for a minute, because we've seen signs that the U.S. is stepping up its pressure over its ties with Russia. What exactly is going on here?
Yeah, so this week there's been a U.S. delegation there led by Elizabeth Rosenberg, and she has quite the complicated title, Assistant Secretary for Terrorist Financing and Financial Crimes at the U.S. Treasury. But essentially we understand this visit really had to do with Turkey's lack of compliance around sanctions that the U.S. and Europe have placed on Russia over the war in Ukraine. And now Turkey, as you probably know, has come out and actually condemned the invasion, but at the same time it's gone and struck deeper economic and trade ties with Russia. There is an economic indicator that we are watching here very closely, and I think this speaks to the overall Turkey story. This is the foreign exchange reserves. Russia sped up a bunch of payments, made a bunch of investments that kind of boosted this number that was lagging at the end of the year. So when you think of the geopolitical situation from Turkey, you also have to think of the domestic economic situation, because if Russia is helping the Turkish economy, really the lifeline there, then clearly that's going to impact the way that Turkey treats sanctions, the way that Turkey mediates in this conflict.
Mm-hmm. And then in neighboring Egypt, the top priority at the COP27 climate summit next month is winning support from the United States. We've also got some news on that front.
Yeah, Egypt has always been, the message they've always sent about what they want to happen at COP27 has been, we want to talk about compensation for developing countries, around the impacts that they have seen, the damage and loss they have seen because of climate change. This is a topic that has long been talked about, but it hasn't been an agenda item. However, the U.S. as well as Canada coming out and signaling support for this, taking a larger role in the discussions. We've seen these commitments by these rich countries to devote $100 billion a year to support emerging markets damaged by climate change. Pakistan may have really changed this conversation, because those commitments have never ever been fulfilled. That said, experts, observers of COP27 don't particularly expect us to see a big breakthrough on this issue. But hey, talking is something, Youssef.
Yeah, the global economic backdrop at the moment, not conducive by any stretch of the imagination. Simone, thank you for that. Simone Foxman of the Qatar Financial Center in Doha.